Dear listeners of the Female Guides Requested podcast, happy Wednesday. This is your host Ting Ting from sunny Las Vegas. Today's guest is Kelly Fields. Kelly was exploring, scaling mountains and track climbing with her family all over the country from the tender age of 2. She got her first climbing job in a gym when she was 13. When she was 18, she began her apprenticeship with Seneca Rocks Mountain Guides and found her calling as a climbing guide. At one point, she proposed a women's-only course to the guide service and soon realized not only was there a need for that, but she also felt empowered by teaching other women and seeing them grow. She then founded Athena Rock Climbing in 2012 with the goal of hosting climbing events designed to help women advance their skills. Now, Kelly lives her dream, guiding year-round, half-year on the East Coast and half-year in Joshua Tree. Kelly described how working for multiple guide services and operating her own business has been scary at times, but overall a fulfilling journey. Guiding has been Kelly's only means to support herself since 18, and from our conversations, I could sense clearly her devotion to climbing, and in her words, helping others see a different way to live lives. We talk about the ups and downs as a guide and as a business owner, her passion towards creating space for women climbers, how proud she was to assemble an all-female guide team, and to apply all she learned from climbing to the real world. There are still uncertainties and there will be difficulties. And it is not that Kelly doesn't have fear, but I know she will stay calm and keep pushing forward. Listening to her stories give me courage, and I believe you will gain strength from this episode as well. Kelly, thank you for letting me use your space for this interview.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm happy to have a chance to finally see you. I heard so much about you, about the work you do in Joshua Tree. I saw from the website Athena Climbing. Is that how you pronounce it?
Athena Rock Climbing.
Okay, Athena Rock Climbing.
Yeah.
That you start Athena Rock Climbing in 2012?
Yeah, under a different name. And out on the East Coast, actually. So we've gone through many changes.
I see.
I started guiding in West Virginia in 2010, and then started this business just as hosting women's climbing events. Under a different name that I am trying to bury, but...
It might be trying to bury, you don't have to even mention that, because, okay. Right? I mean, unless you really think that you want to share.
I mean, it was a big thing for my business, for sure. I started this business when I was very young, and I just didn't quite know the power of words. And so I started the events under the name Chicks with Nuts.
Chicks with Nuts.
Yes.
I can understand as a track climber, I can understand where you're coming from, yes.
I thought it was just the funniest thing, and I didn't quite know, how much our words do matter. And so it was great. It was a great name for getting started. People remembered it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm from a different culture, right? So one long time ago, I just got here. I'm enthusiastic. So I start a website. I want to invite all the women. It's called the Outdoor Bunnies. And then obviously it just gone because nobody wants to be a bunny.
It didn't work here.
No.
So sometimes you have to do these things and just see how it goes and find out.
Yeah, definitely. Words can certainly. So for people who want to start their own business out there,
Yeah.
Think your name wisely. Yeah.
Wait, what's that?
I mean, think your business name wisely.
Yes, exactly. It's important. And I knew it was great for getting started, and I knew I always wanted to change it, and there were years, like 4 or 5 years, where I knew I wanted to change it, but I didn't know what to change it to. So I kept the name for much longer. Like, I outgrew it much longer, or much before I changed it. And then when I landed on Athena Rock Climbing, I was like, that's it.
I think that's a beautiful and strong name. As women typically are strong and beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Athena is an awesome goddess, too. She's the goddess of handicraft, war, and wisdom. She's awesome, so.
And I'm curious, so the original name, I personally think that it's funny. Yeah. And you have the name, did you hold some like grudge, or like, I should not say grudge, it's just some sort of, I don't even know, rebellion kind of sense, or...
when I started it?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, I think that is fitting with who I am. I not necessarily rebellious, but liking to do things. I like to do things that maybe others don't like to do. They're just like, they'll hold back because they have more sense than I do, maybe. But I like to be bold. I like to go against the grain and challenge things that are normal.
Awesome.
So that name was fitting for me. It was... You can remember it. It was sassy a little bit,
yes.
You know, it had some attitude to it. And it was also playful and fun. And most people thought it was funny.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think it's nice that you changed.
Yeah. I love the new name, for sure. Athena Rock Climbing. It's good. Yeah, so I started those events in West Virginia, and I had the goal of just running one women's climbing event that season. And I did all this work and probably had no idea what I was doing, and then ended up hosting 3 events by the end of the season.
So that season you had 3 events.
Yeah, which showed me how much of a need there was.
And what made you start to want to run women clinical event? Or
honestly, I did it because I wasn't getting as much work as the boys that were around me.
So you start guiding in West Virginia, but you're working for other guide service.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that I had apprenticed at for a couple of years. The owner of that business is a good family friend of mine, and so I spent many summers in high school apprenticing with him and his guide service. And yeah, then when I moved out there to work there full time, there were guys that were sort of the same age as me, but I had more climbing experience because I grew up rock climbing, and the work was just going to them and going to them.
Huh.
And I just wanted to change that, and I needed more experience too. As a new guide, that was what I was lacking, was experience in the field. So I was like, I'm going to start a women's rock climbing event, and then the boys can't take that work from me.
So, like, under the same business, you mean?
Yes. Yeah,
I see.
Exactly. I started running them through that guide service, Seneca Rocks Mountain Guides.
Okay.
And it was a huge hit. And then after doing just those 3 events, and then after getting started, that's when I really saw how valuable women's spaces are. So again, I was really young, and I didn't necessarily know how important it was for women to come together, and just in any industry, in anything, just for women to be together, to be around other women, to support each other. And I didn't really realize how valuable that was and how much it was lacking in climbing until I built it. That saying, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, that made me curious. So you say you start running women classes, and then obviously it was popular, so you ran 2 more than you intended to. But then before that, you advertised that, like, did women go to your guide service and then wanted to do stuff, and maybe they say, hey, can we have women guides and stuff?
That was the work I was for sure getting, was anytime somebody requested a female guide. I was the only one on staff.
Right.
So any work I was getting was that. So that showed me that there was a market for it, for sure. No one necessarily said we should do like a women's climbing event type thing.
Right.
To me.
I see. Yeah, and then you just figured that, well, they cannot take the work away. So when did you start to venture out on your own?
I only did that really like a couple years ago, maybe in 2021. So I guided for Seneca Rocks Mountain Guides in West Virginia for 6 months out of the year, for 7 months out of the year for a really long time. And then in 2015, I moved to Joshua Tree and guided for Cliffhanger Guides.
A cliffhanger, yeah.
And once I had that seasonal rotation, I worked each season 6 months. So West Virginia 6 months, Joshua Tree 6 months. And then I would continue to run about 3 to 5 events throughout the year in either location. So I always had this business, but it wasn't the only way I made money. I always guided for other people also.
So right now, does Athena Rock Climbing owns permit in Joshua Tree?
Yeah.
And also maybe Seneca, or not really?
Yeah, anywhere we guide, we pull our own permits now.
I see.
So I started pulling Athena Rock Climbing permits in 2020, and then I stopped working for other guide services in 2021. And I was like, okay, I'm going to dive in and only work for myself full time. And then, I've been doing that since. So it hasn't been too long.
Oh, that's interesting, because I heard about you for a long time, and I kept thinking that you, for the whole time, that it's like you have your own business.
Yeah, I always had these women's climbing events, but I just really wasn't, I was too nervous to make it my sole means of income until a couple years ago.
And then what's the turning point, or what drove you just like, okay, now this is the moment?
It was kind of like the name change thing. Like, I knew it was going to happen at some point, because it was time consuming to be out there as a guide working for other guide services. It took a lot of time. It made me really tired, and I just wasn't, I didn't have enough time or energy to build my own business, which I knew I wanted to do. So the turning point, I mean, really, I started doing mindset work. I started working with a life coach in 2020, early 2020, or maybe 2019 even.
So you mean you hire a life coach?
I hired a life coach, yeah.
Yeah.
And I still work with her now. And really, she's the one that gave me the confidence, the boost to go and do it.
It's like a push.
Yeah. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm just scared. I
can understand. It's scary to, run your own business.
It's really nice to just have work, to not have to find clients and customers, right? That's what a guide service does for a guide, is they funnel the people to you. And that was always really, really nice and comforting. But I was always running my business behind the scenes.
Right.
I was always running these events, and I just realized I had my own website. I had my own social media and my own sort of source for clients that I was getting, and I really could do this. Like, I had done my time in guiding.
Right. Yeah.
That it felt like I could absolutely market for myself and get my own customers.
Yeah, so basically you're saying that you did all the legwork. So basically, if you're hired by a guide service, they should do all those work, right? Because you are so invested in this women specific classes, so you did all the work.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right. But the only thing is you are not getting paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working twice as hard for half as much money, basically. And I don't regret that. I think it was really good experience. In West Virginia, it got me into guiding. In Joshua Tree, I had been guiding for about 5 or so years at that point. So I knew how to guide, but working for a guide service gave me community, connected me with people. And of course, it helped me tap into the clients that were already going to those areas.
Yeah, that kind of made me want think. So this summer I interview. So it's an episode 12. So she and Lonnie, well, her name Lonnie Chapco, then she and her partner also just start maybe they started their own business like 2 years ago, but I think they really fully run it like start since this year. But and she said she had no regret. It's just like running. It seems like running your own business. Like if you are into it, it's kind of the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to be, I think it's either for you or it's not. So you're either wired for it or you're not. I know plenty of guides that love to just go guide in the field, come home, not worry about anything else, paperwork, nothing else. And I just love it. Even the days when I'm like in the park all day exhausted and I'll come home and then have to make a website or fill out park paperwork or, you know, post something on social media, answer a million client emails. I thrive on it. I do like it.
And then also, what I heard is like financially and scheduling wise, it seems like better for both your physical health and mental health. What do you say?
Oh yeah, I get more control over my schedule. It was scary the first season, so I was kind of taking any work that signed up, and then I saw I had plenty of work coming my way, so I could pick and choose more. And I can work the days that I want to also. So working for different guide services allowed me to see the different styles of guiding that you can do out there. And I learned that I really like multi-pitch and I really like instructing. So I just try and book those days.
I see. So right now, Athena Rock Climbing, what kind of courses do you offer?
We do trad fundamentals, which is basically, I treat that as learning how to second. So learning how to clean gear, how to lead, belay, set up rappels, that sort of thing. How to be a really good second in a multi-pitch environment or single pitch. So trad fundamentals, learn to lead, that could be sport or trad. Self-rescue, which is my favorite. I love teaching self-rescue skills. It's so fun.
Nice.
And big wall courses. And then we just started Gym to Crag, which is kind of an extension. Yeah. It's kind of an extension of the trad fundamentals. But that is a newer addition. When I started guiding, there weren't a lot of Gym to Crag courses, and now you see them everywhere. So
I see.
I started doing those.
And then I also saw that you have some sort of mentorship program going. And what is that about?
The mentorship program it's for people who want long-term guiding or long-term instruction. So they sign up for like a package, like let's say 12 days throughout the season, and each of those days are discounted, so it's a deal for the client. But more so, it's just designed so that people come out for 3 days a month or so and work towards a specific objective or just trying to advance their climbing. So they'll book 12 days at the beginning of the season.
And then, so for example, what kind of objective you
it can vary. So people might come in and be like, I want to climb Whitney, or I want to climb El Cap, and or I want to climb Devil's Tower, and we will spend 12 sessions training towards that. Most people are just trying to advance their trad climbing that I've worked with so far. The mentorship programs are new, but that just came from, I host all these 2 to 3 day courses, and it took you way longer than 2 or 3 days to learn all of this stuff, right? So
Definitely.
I see people come out and they just get completely overwhelmed with information, and then they never practice it again.
Yeah, definitely.
So that mentorship program was like, how can I really teach people and really help them be better? Oh, I can make them keep coming back. And just push them to get out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not officially doing that type of stuff, but I do have some long-term clients. Then it's like similar, just like you can't just have a learn to lead course and then they just like, what's next?
Yeah.
Right? So it's still like, just like you think that you hire a life coach, we're kind of like a progression coach and kind of thing to help them along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's actually where it came from, was having long-term clients
that
I worked with for a long time. and just saw them get better. And I was like, well, that's how you do it. That's how you get better.
Definitely, though. Right? I don't know. I got better from trying to find more experience to climb with. But it's not like everybody is they just dive in because that's why eventually I became a guide. But it's not like everybody want to be a guide, right? Yeah. They have probably a better paid job.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're more sensible.
Right. Right, but they can still have good goals, and then we can help them.
Yeah.
With,
And right now, that mentorship program I've only ever done the whole thing in Joshua Tree, but the goal is to get it nationwide. So to be able to use those days in West Virginia or Joshua Tree, or the Black Canyon is the other place that...
In Colorado,
In Colorado, yeah.
I see. And then you also have permit in Black Canyon?
Yeah.
I see.
And that way, you're encouraging people. I mean, that's how you get better at climbing also. You do it a lot, but you do it in a lot of different places.
Definitely.
You get more experience that way. So those are still new, the mentorship programs, but I think they're really valuable.
I think so too. So you mean how new is it? Just one time you have run it, or?
Yeah, this last season, I ran 2 of them.
Okay, and then with one mentorship program, how many participants do you have?
It's one-on-one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's one-on-one.
That's intense.
It's really...
intense in a way of they really got a lot of attention.
They get a lot of attention. And after each session, they get a write-up for me that's like, this is exactly what we did, this is what you did well, this is what you need to improve on, this is what we'll do next time.
Nice.
It's like, I probably take rock climbing a little too seriously. People are like, I'm not reading this when I get home.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel the same way. I'm like, but then they say, Ting Ting, that's your goal, it's not my goal.
Right. I know. Yeah, I have people come out for the self-rescue course especially, where they're like, can we climb? I'm like, no, we're just ascending ropes with friction hitches. And they're like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm like, it's not supposed to be fun, you're training. And they're like, we want to have a little fun.
That kind of remind me that, I came here to teach a SPI course, so then I say the first day, I say, look, this course, you are not going to be climbing.
Yeah. Get that out of your brain.
Right. I mean, I can understand. It can be frustrating. Yeah. I'm glad. And so how? What do you see? What do you see from this mentorship program from your participants?
I see it working. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that a lot of times with rock climbing, it comes down to the individual. Like you said, you just went out and you went for it, and it kind of became your life. And so it comes down to the person eventually just going out and doing things on their own, like having that confidence and will and drive to be like, okay, I'm going to go do this big, scary thing. And that's a harder thing to teach. I can teach all kinds of skills, but it's like, do you want to go rock climbing? I don't know. You don't have to go rock climbing.
Right, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. But I've seen it work. It's by far the best way to actually learn, to work with a professional for a dozen days. I mean, that would have fast-tracked my learning.
Yeah, I actually wish. I also help a few clients on their path. I was like, wow, I kind of wish this, in the past I have somebody to have this organized coach, not just like random mentor. Oh, okay, you can follow me, and then you pick up whatever you pick up, right?
Yes.
Right.
I think that's coming in rock climbing. Rock climbing in America especially is just it's so young as a business. Mm-hmm. It's even younger.
Right.
So it is sort of this mismatch. It's disorganized. You're working with a bunch of different mentors, people with a little bit more experience. And yes, all the time in my courses, I hear myself say things and I'm like, if someone had just told me that, I would have been so much better, so much more quickly.
Yeah, and then I think just like you said, that people start to recognize that, because on the performance climbing side, right? So now it's all sorts of training program, right? Bouldering, like 6 weeks, finger training program, and coaches, right? And so, but then nobody think that actually in the adventure climbing side, you can have an organized program and progress in a non-scary way.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. And it's harder with outdoor climbing because everything's so situational. That's what makes climbing hard to learn. You do one thing in one environment, completely different thing in a different environment. And I think when people are trying to learn, they want sort of a cookie cutter, black and white, like this is step 1 through 10, this is what you're going to do. And you're like, well, that's not really how rock climbing works. Like, you're going to see where you are, you're going to see what gear you have. So I understand why it's disorganized. I mean, putting my curriculum together is one thing I'm really proud of because it's hard to do that. So you don't just put together a curriculum, you put together a curriculum based off of the people's experience.
Right. You have to know this person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so after guiding for a long time, I feel like I know the types of people that are coming out climbing experience wise. So I can be like, oh, this person has never climbed outside before, but they have a will to lead. Their quickest way to be climbing outdoors is to learn how to lead sport.
I see.
Or this person has never climbed outside before. They are, older. They're like mid-60s. Maybe they're out of shape and they don't ever want to lead. Not just because of those things, but also just because they're like, this isn't for me. I'm not getting on the sharp end. Okay, what's the quickest way to help that person climb outside on their own? They can learn how to build top rope anchors off of bolts or natural pieces of protection. So I've thought about and seen and observed the clients that come and then made a curriculum based off of that. Like, okay, if you get this person, do this thing. And this will be the general flow.
Nice. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to see this program grow.
Yeah.
And then we will have more people, and then maybe I'll have my own mentees.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think that could be a great way too, and that's what I hope to do with my guide team, is these mentees will get to work with a lot of different professionals. So,
and which is actually important,
yes.
I think.
Yeah. All the teaching shouldn't come from me. It's way more valuable if they work with
so many different styles and people from different background experience.
Yes.
I yes, definitely.
I want to find a way to sort of mix and match with other guide services that are out there too, just for that, because it's
true.
It's really about that. It's you need to go to Wyoming and climb with this person.
We need to, maybe as a female guides podcast, with all this female guys, we could think about this. And then I think that I definitely see a lot of women, they are underperforming. Yes, for whatever reason. Yeah, and I it's just too much to dig into to figure out what the reasons are. But I certainly think it's out there. A lot of people, women can perform to their full potential.
Yeah. I mean, what that made me think of was right before the name change. I do that all the time also, as a woman. I underperform. I sort of think of it like I have to hide my light type thing. I don't want to shine too bright. I don't want to try.
Okay.
I don't know, that's where my brain went when you said that. And when I started out my business, I didn't want myself on social media at all. I didn't want pictures of me. I didn't want my name out there. I tried to do the whole business without showing any part of me.
Yeah, I kind of can understand that. Yeah, because I was, and I probably still is one of the few female guys in Red Rock. But somehow I just I don't really need people to know me.
Right. I felt the same way. It was this isn't about me.
Right.
And again, my life coach was if you're hiding yourself,
okay,
because of whatever issues you have to unpack, you're kind of telling other women that they should also hide themselves. That it's not okay for them to self-promote. And if you promote yourself and you have good energy behind it, and it's not in this arrogant way, but it's for this greater good, then people will feel that energetically, and they'll see you do it. They'll see you putting yourself out there, and they'll be like, hey, I can do that. And then once it wasn't about me anymore, I was I can post a picture of myself and boost somebody else and empower somebody else, well, then I'll do it. I'll do it for that reason.
I can understand, because I can never talk my stuff,
Yes.
but then I can share what I learned.
Yes.
For sure, from past failures and glories or whatever. Yeah, definitely. So that made me very curious. Like, so how long have you been working with this life coach?
I know, she's awesome. I'll give you her information.
Okay. And then
works.
What made you want to have a life coach?
That is something I'm really curious about still. I don't know what
and it just
exactly.
happened, like being like light bulb moment that you wanted to hire.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to be better in general, and I was like, yeah, somebody that can help me be better, I'll sign up for that. But it happened, her name's Marta, and I can't pronounce her last name because I never try to. If I tried to, I'm sure I could do it. She's Polish. She's lovely. But it was during 2020, I was doing, we all took to the computer, and I was like doing self-rescue courses via Zoom, which was a very comical time for me. And I invited Marta to come on and talk to the Zoom participants about mindset stuff around climbing. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I had reconnected with her in years. She took me up my first big wall ever, when I was like 20 years old. So she came on Zoom and she gave us some tips for climbing mindset, and I was like, wow, she really knows what she's doing. It took it from this sort of lofty, intangible thing to, once I heard what was coming out of her mouth, I was like, oh, that's really helpful information. And then she offered everybody there a free session, and I was like, well, I'll do that. And I did a free session.
Okay, and maybe I'll put her in the show notes.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay.
And I did that free session with her and got a lot out of it. And then I just decided I'm going to work with her. And I was in a really different place. I was in school online, so I was trying to finish my bachelor's degree online. I was working for other guide services. I was in a relationship that didn't necessarily serve me. So, and then after about a year of working with her, all those things changed.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, of course, I know that Marty, you said?
Marta,
okay, it's
yeah.
Marta, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty professional and pretty helpful and everything. But I think everybody probably at some point just need somebody to help them too, right?
That's what I realized.
Yes, because in the past, I just said, I'm going to figure this all out on my own.
Yeah.
Right? But first of all, why do I have to?
Yeah.
And then why can I go a smarter way? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
No, exactly. And I'm very much the, I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to ask for help type person. And it's made all the difference for me. I think I realized that, I just need somebody helping me with life. I spend an hour every couple weeks just talking about myself and where I'm going and what I'm doing. And it was actually interesting, when I started working with her, I was a life coach. There's not much official, there's no degree for that. There aren't
True.
You know what I mean? I was it's kind of this rogue thing.
I know, because in the past I was very skeptical.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still skeptical.
I was super skeptical when I started. And I've learned a lot more. You can get certs, and
oh, okay.
I believe, I don't know that world super well, but there was just that whole there's no degree for this, why not go see a therapist instead of a life coach? And I compared it to guiding, actually.
Yeah, actually, I just thought about it in the past, right? Nobody have any cert of some sort.
Yeah, it was about your experience and how well you trained yourself and the type of person you were. And you can have highly certified guides that aren't actually really that amazing at guiding. They're safe and everything. But you can have less certified guides that hold a lower certification that are phenomenal climbing guides.
Just so everybody know, Katie and I both are certified in some way, and
Yes.
we are phenomenal too.
Yes, it's true. And then sometimes, like in this case,
Right.
you get both.
Yes, true. Yes.
But I compared it to that, and I was like, it comes down to the person and their personal life experience. Just like in guiding, it comes down to your climbing experience and your guiding experience.
Definitely.
That's going to make the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this nowadays. Certainly say, well, you have this base level of expertise,
Mm-hmm.
but then a lot of things beyond that, it's like no cert can really say it justice. I think.
No, definitely not. They do a good job, both the PCGI and the AMGA, and I know there's other ones too, but those are kind of the two biggest. They do a good job of helping you learn your systems, but there's nothing like getting out there and doing it yourself.
Definitely. Since we're talking about certification, I know that you went to the PCGI route. So PCGI is what? Professional Climbing
Guides Institute.
Guides Institute.
Yeah.
So is there any particular reason that you choose PCGI over the AMGA, which is the route I took?
The main reason at the time was the cost. So it was more affordable to do the PCGI route. And I did courses with both when I was brand new to guiding. I did AMGA and I did PCGI. And I had a way more positive experience with the PCGI. So in addition to that cost and then just having a more positive experience, and I think that comes down to the instructor that you get.
Definitely.
You know, that's totally random and you don't always get to pick that. So it's not a reflection of the whole organization, but the courses I had were better. I had a more positive experience with the PCGI. That was the main reason, and I still seek out AMGA certs. I actually go back and forth on this all the time, because it is the highest standard internationally and in this country, for sure. So there's a part of me that is like, I need to get AMGA certified in order to prove my worth in this industry.
Okay.
It's this feeling that I have, and I talk myself down from that every year. I think I do this.
Right.
I go through a cycle every year. Because it is in the guiding industry, but not that many clients know the difference between certs, or even they just don't know that much about it. Mm-hmm. And it's starting to be more prevalent, but there aren't that many guide services that like only hire AMGA guides or only hire PCGI guides. So it doesn't really matter there. And then now at this stage, I don't work for other guide services.
Right. Yes.
I don't think I ever will again.
I mean, I can understand. Yeah. Once you go into this entrepreneur route, it'll be hard to turn around.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know that I really need that AMGA cert, but there is something that picks at me, and it's probably my ego. Just being like, I need to be the best. I need to have the best, highest certification that anybody could have.
Yeah. I kind of can understand that a little bit. It's a little bit sad to mention the late Amy Barnes when I interviewed her. Mm-hmm. It was on episode 4, and she said that one of her biggest regret probably like he didn't take the dive to get the pin. Even though, I mean, way back then, she got in all discipline, and then she was totally capable, and nobody would doubt that she deserves. She was already way beyond the pin, but still, she had that little sadness when she talked about that.
Yeah. It makes you feel like you're lacking in some way, and I don't know how real that feeling is. I mean, somebody like that's like just put their time in the mountains and is clearly really good at what they do and at their trade, then that should speak for itself.
I would think so, especially she was at the era that when pin was not even, nowadays, like in the guide community, we kind of know about it. right? But back then I feel like it's not really that significant.
No. Yeah. And I think the AMG only started in the 80s, in like 86.
Yeah, I think like 1979. And the only reason I knew is because it was my brother's birth year.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's a young organization.
Definitely.
Too, and it's evolved a lot. And that was the thing you said made me think of it too. I decided with the PCGI, like I didn't ever want to guide. I didn't ever want to be a ski guide or an ice guide.
So PCGI doesn't have ski program, or I don't know anything about PCGI.
I think they only go up. It's the equivalent of the rock guide or the advanced rock guide. I meant to look this up before we chatted.
Okay, maybe people can go to their website.
Yeah, exactly. But they stop at rock, so you're not supposed to be doing any grade 5s.
Oh.
So like I couldn't guide El Cap.
I see. Well, I can because I can work in Yosemite.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even though technically I can guide big walls.
Yeah.
In the scope of practice, but Yosemite, the permit is another issue. Yeah, so that's also this might be a very good gateway for me. I think that in United States, the permit is definitely the biggest hurdle for starting your own business.
Yes.
And so in Joshua Tree, I don't really know about the East Coast, but I definitely know the Joshua Tree is one of the easiest place to get. So I heard this number recently said here in Joshua Tree there are 44 guide services.
That sounds about right in terms of they might be talking about commercial use authorization permits.
Okay.
Which I actually think is a higher number. I think it's in the 60s.
You mean including like hiking or just climbing?
That's what that would be for. That number, a CUA, is just a permit for hiking, anything, photography. Weddings have to pull a permit.
Oh yeah, right,
things
wedding.
Like that.
That's what happened the most outdoor activity in Red Rock's wedding.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty. Do they limit those permits?
Wedding? I don't know. I don't know about other activity. Maybe they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty easy to get a permit in Joshua Tree in the sense that they don't limit them at all as of right now. There's no limit on the number of permits.
So there's no cap.
There's no cap.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it?
I mean, I benefited from it, right? I came in 2015 and I pulled a permit in 2020. So I benefited from that. I have seen it since 2020 change a lot, meaning there's way more guides and there's way more independent guides. Just since 2020, especially. When I moved here in 2015, it felt like, there's probably 5 to 7 main guide services in Joshua Tree that I could think of off the top of my head that have been here for years, and then there were a few guide services operating out of like San Diego or
so
LA.
You mean they are based in San Diego?
Yes, sorry, and then the guide in Joshua Tree.
Okay.
A little bit, like every now and again. So that started happening.
Interesting. So they bring group from there, but then they don't have guide station here. Or
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like REI has a Joshua Tree permit.
Of course.
Actually, don't know if they have a Joshua Tree permit.
Okay.
But they guide out in LA, and then they can come out to Joshua Tree. I think they do guide out here. I don't know 100% on that.
Okay.
But those permits would be... So there are a lot... I would believe the number of 44 in terms of independent guides and then people from other areas traveling in to guide here.
So for me, it's just like... I know that also some other guys that I talked to, other guys already in Joshua Tree, it's definitely like ridiculous to say in Yosemite there's only one.
Yes.
Right, but it's also like when there's no cap, it seems like it's also kind of, I don't know. So it seems like, is there a happy median, or you should just go free market, or like all of those things?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think we'll see in the next 5 years or so what happens here in Joshua Tree, because I don't think it started to feel saturated until like 2020.
Oh, so you mean that before 2020 is still...
Yeah, it felt like there were still just those 5 to 7, let's call it 7 guide services.
Okay.
And they had the bulk of the work, and those were the main guides that you were running into in the park. And it really wasn't, probably till 2021, let's say, after pandemic and everything, that I started seeing people guiding that I'd never seen before.
And why do you think that 2020 it kind of made that cut?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, California was hard during the pandemic, so...
Right.
And it hit our season really hard because we have a winter season, so then flu season would start, and that just hit us so hard, whereas other places got more work during 2020. Like summer of 2020, guides in West Virginia had way too much work. They didn't know what to do.
In Red Rock, obviously we don't have work in summer, but the fall was crazy.
Yeah.
2020, yes.
So I think people just started going outside more.
Yeah, yes.
In 2020. And then I also think climbing got more popular.
Mm-hmm.
Free solo came out first, and then we were in the Olympics, you know, and climbing's like making it now. There's more climbing gyms, and
definitely
there's way more people doing it.
Then maybe wonder how many gyms in LA. The climbing gyms in interesting. But do you think that at the place that like Joshua Tree, that whoever can have a permit, is that harder to thrive, or what's your strategy to thrive?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We will see. Right now, it seems like the market can sustain it. Like there's enough work for everybody to still make a living. That's how it feels right now anyway. I think the biggest guide service in Joshua Tree runs probably on average 4 trips a day.
Oh, okay.
So they're sending out 4 guides to maybe on the weekends 6 trips a day. So that gives you an idea. That's the biggest guide service in Joshua Tree. And that's not an insane amount of trips.
Right.
But so it feels like we can still get work. I hope that we can. I have 2 thoughts happening at once here, but my biggest fear truly isn't like, is there going to be enough work to feed everybody? Because I kind of believe in capitalism in that way. I'm like, free market. May the best guide service win type thing. Bring it on. Let's saturate the market. Let's have 1 million guide services and see how long y'all last. I do believe in capitalism in that way. I think it works and is effective, and then people will leave if it's not for them. But what I don't want to see happen is the culture change. The community vibe in Joshua Tree is so good. Like there's just such healthy competition in this small town.
You mean among the guide service?
Yeah.
I see.
You see other guides from other guide services, and they're your friends. Like, you're going to go eat dinner with them afterwards.
It's not like cutthroat, no.
It's not cutthroat at all. You're constantly talking each other up. You're sending each other clientele. It just really feels like we work together really well. We share the cliff well out there. Most guides in Joshua Tree, if they drive up or walk up and they see another climber, they're going to turn away, or they're going to figure out how to share the cliff with the other guide service. And I've seen those things start to change a little bit with guides that have come in and they don't know the vibe at all, and they sort of come in with this like, I have arrived and I'm going to have a chip on my shoulder and be a little rude to you just because that's maybe how things happen at their home crag. So that's the one thing that I'm really afraid of changing or happening.
I see. Yeah, but I would hope or think that, I mean, I personally believe that like guys should work together, right? Because even like we both are female guys, we both teach rock climbing, but we have different things to offer. We should collaborate rather than compete.
I agree. 100%.
And then since the reason I feel like guys should collaborate is to make the climbing community bigger. Then there's more demands so everybody can have work.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel the same way, and not everybody feels that way.
Right.
I think it's happening more.
I just think that guy work is already hard enough. I don't have other energy to like compete with like cutthroat with like other guys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the small town that I lived in before Seneca Rocks, that's where I guided. It was cutthroat competition and like not good vibes between guides, and that changed when I started my business and I started hiring female guides, and they were like my best friends. And maybe some guides worked for the other guide service, and I was like, come run this event with me, and then we were friends, and then everyone was like, oh, we don't have to hate each other anymore.
Nice. You change your vibe. Nice.
Just
nice
women.
Job.
That's the power of women. We're like, we don't know what's going on with you guys, but we like each other.
Right.
And we're going to go climbing together.
Right. Definitely. Nice.
But here in Joshua Tree, it seems okay. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about that. Is this market going to get too saturated, and worry about it a little bit? So far, so good. I think the guide services that have been here for a really long time, there's people that have climbed here for 30 years. I think they're well established, and they will always do well as long as they keep changing.
Yeah, I guess from where I'm coming from is, in Red Rock, it's like for commercial climbing permit holder, and that is it.
Yeah.
So I can't even be an independent guide. Right. So that's like, and then I'm like you, I always have all sorts of ideas. So I just like, I kind of want to like implement it, but it's just kind of hard. So sometimes I'm like envious of people like who live here. Yeah. But here it's just not that much Asian food.
Okay, the food in general is pretty terrible here. That's very true. 29 Palms has a little bit more going on. Yeah. Just a little bit.
So for me, it was like, I need some Asian Chinese style vegetable.
You can get that in Vegas for sure.
Yeah, I can get a lot of good food in Vegas. One thing good about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think there's a happy medium. If I saw a lottery happen in Joshua Tree and they only gave away 5 permits, that would be devastating.
Yeah.
So it feels like there could be more than 5, but maybe a cap at some point. I know on the east side of the Sierra, where I have pulled permits before too, they do it a little different. Front country days are pretty unlimited, and you could just get a permit for like guiding in the front country, but back country is limited, and they do it based off of user days. So one client is one user, so if you guide one day with 6 people, then that's 6 user days.
Yes.
And that is an extension of just them trying to sort of manage crowds in the backcountry in general.
Definitely. Yeah, that I can understand from the conservation point of view, for sure, because as guys working in the outdoor, we are also steward of the land.
Right.
Yeah, so, but it is. There's a lot of issues. But because I teach SPI courses, they always ask students, just like, how much do we get paid?
Like, that is the question.
how easy to get work? And I was just like, this is like not one sentence that I can't answer in one sentence, and it's very complex. I'm still figuring it out myself, right? Because it's definitely hard to be an independent guy in the United States. There's only a few places the permit is relatively easier to get. Yeah. But definitely not like everybody would love Joshua Tree, or everybody would love the particular place. So then they face different.
And even if there's no lottery on the permit, they cost money. So as an independent guide, if you have 1 or 2 clients, and you want to take them to Joshua Tree, you want to take them to an area, like, is it financially worth it to pull a permit there? I don't know.
Yes, definitely, right? Especially the insurance is also getting more and more expensive.
Yes, I know. The insurance is the business side of things that feels like it could change a lot in guiding. Like, I think it's still really new to insure a guide service, and so we get lumped in with other activities that are bigger.
Yeah, and I heard that this year they say the insurance premium just shot sky high. Did you get affected?
Yeah, definitely. Everything was more expensive. My insurance company actually reached out and wanted more money in the middle of the year, and I was like, that's not how this works.
So it's not year.
It is yearly.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what was happening with that. Basically, I gave a low estimate the following year, and so then they did an audit, and they were like, you had more clients than you estimated for, and so now we want that money.
So the premium is also based on your gross income kind of thing?
Yeah. A little, but it seems like an unfair
And how
percentage.
do they know, though? They are not IRS.
Yeah, exactly. It is an honesty system.
I see. I'm just curious.
Yeah. They could do an audit like they did with me, and they'll want to see, like, invoices and that sort of thing.
Okay. So they have the right to do that, as you're saying.
Yeah. I don't think they have the right to be, like, in the middle of the year, be like, you need to give us $900 more or more money. That can happen when you re-up the policy, I think is a more ethical way to do that. But the insurance is a huge amount of the cost of running a guide service. Mm-hmm. And then, to get permits for every single location, it is hard to be an independent guide and to do that.
Right. You definitely.
And then rental gear is the other.
Oh yeah, right.
Really expensive thing. You need to store it. You need to maintain it. You need to have it.
Yeah, you need to have it. So you kind of have to estimate, right? Mm-hmm. So how much you need to have it. Yeah. Like, I'm curious in the more common size of shoes, how many pairs do you have to keep?
Yeah, I know. It's a lot. I'm still playing that game, figuring it out.
Right.
But at least 4 pairs of shoes in the, like, size 6 to 11 range. It's always, someone's always 2 11s. Like, you get 2 clients and they're both size 11 or they're both size 7.
Yes, yeah, those thing. Common
And then you get the really little ones just in case you get little kids, and you do that for all the gear, and then you gotta maintain it.
Right, and also like maybe like plus size harness, and then like for pregnant or full size harness and all that, right?
Yeah.
Whew.
That's the barrier to entry with like having your own guide service. And I think it's important for new guides to remember that, or anyone that wants to be an independent guide. Because it can seem like, I know that when you're guiding for other companies, it's easy to feel like you're out there doing all the work and you give away more than 50% of the pay, of the money.
Yeah, because like as a guy behind, they don't know how to calculate overhead, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you just have to remember the insurance and the liability that comes with that, and all of the gear, and then finding the clients and that sort of thing.
Yes.
I mean, to just be a guide for another guide service is really expensive. And we were kind of talking about this before. It's really challenging to make a living as a guide, period, even if you're guiding for somebody else, because you need a new rack or new climbing shoes, or you need pants without holes in them.
Especially in Joshua Tree, your pants probably wear out pretty fast.
Seriously, I know.
I was like, I brought my brand new approach shoes, and now I just like, look, my approach shoes seems like a month old.
I know. You can tell Joshua Tree local because they will be out there climbing with pants that have a reinforced, like a big patch over their butt.
I need
You need it here.
I do.
And like these pants, this outdoor gear is expensive. Even with the pro deal.
Yes.
It's so expensive. And if I can wear a pair of pants for a week in Joshua Tree and then have a hole in the butt, which is like the worst place when you're guiding. You're like, great. This is good.
Yeah.
So just maintaining the gear and the certs just to be a guide that works for somebody else, it's really, really challenging.
Yeah. Definitely. So it's kind of nice to hear from, because you work for other people, and also now you run your own business, like standing on the different side of the business. And then what made you want to be a guide then?
It kind of just happened. So I started working at a climbing gym when I was 13.
Well,
I had to get like a work permit in Maryland.
You're 13. Could you legally work?
With a work permit, I could. So I had to have my parents sign it and like a teacher sign it or something like that.
I see.
And then I started working at the climbing gym in Maryland, just belaying for birthday parties. And I worked there until the end of high school.
Okay.
So eventually went on to like lead classes for learning to lead, or movement classes, or the rec team and that sort of thing.
Wow, you started your guiding career young.
I did, I know, because I grew up rock climbing.
I see.
With my parents. And when I found the climbing gym for the first time at like 13, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was like, you can climb at night, you can climb when it's raining, you can climb all the time here, it's awesome. And I found community, so that's how I started working in the industry. And then in the summer, I would apprentice at Seneca Rocks Mountain Guides. And I basically just did top rope days for them, or like help them clean their shop, or that sort of thing. Whatever a 16, 17-year-old can do at a guide service. And then I went to college at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, for a year and a half, like 3 semesters. And I just noticed that I kept driving to Seneca Rocks 3 hours away. I changed my schedule so that I didn't have class on Monday or Friday. And I was like, I'm spending a lot of time rock climbing in West Virginia.
So you just go to college for rest days.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I went on a music scholarship. So it was like another sort of passion. I had music and rock climbing. And I just saw that rock climbing was winning. And I was making more time for it.
Right. And it's both hard to make a lot of money.
And neither of which are good career moves. But I was having lots of fun.
Nice.
And so I just decided to move out to Seneca Rocks. I was dating somebody at the time that helped with the decision. I moved closer to them, and I found that I loved it, and then basically I could have signed up for another semester of school, or I could have worked at this guide service and gone and climbed my first big wall ever. I couldn't do both. And I made the decision to go climb a wall.
Nice.
And to work at the guide service. I quit my job as a waitress. And I started guiding, and I didn't think I would do it forever, or I at least out loud told people that I wouldn't do it forever. And everybody telling me it's not a sustainable living, there's no future with it, like this is great for right now, Kelly, but you need to figure out what you're gonna do.
Like, okay, now you're still young, so it's good, and that type of thing.
And I was like, yeah, definitely. I'm only gonna do this for a couple of years. And then I started these women's climbing events. Right. And I was like, I feel needed in this space. I feel like I have something to offer that I can really offer people, and I just found my rhythm. Right. It felt like it called to me.
So at any point that you quit for a very short period of time?
No.
Ah, okay.
Since 2010, that has been the only source of income, guiding. It was hard the first few years. There were years where I lived on like $12,000 a year. Like 2010 and 2011, I lived on like pennies. Mm-hmm. And then I just saw that I had to kind of take this entrepreneurial route, and then also just guide more. So guide a little bit more year round. And once I started coming out to Joshua Tree and working year round, that's how I was able to make it a sustainable living.
I see. So what do you think? Now you think this is a real job?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. For as real as it gets for me, I guess.
I mean, it definitely is a real job, but what I meant is by, people always think you can't punch through. It's like not sustainable. You're gonna wear out your body, and then blah 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 and blah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I have found my security in it. You know, my dad said to me, he's like, you can choose to get a job where you get a paycheck every 2 weeks and you'll have that security, or you can go work for yourself, basically, which is what a guide essentially is doing, and you will never know when you're going to get your money, but you know that you can make it any day that you want. You have control over your schedule.
I see. Yeah, so you get paid by a different type of way.
Yeah, and basically he was saying one's secure and one is not secure, and I sort of took that and I said, I actually think both are pretty insecure. Like,
yes,
there's this illusion of security that a 9-to-5 with a salary can give you, and it is great for sure that getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and you can get benefits, those things are real, but anything can happen in life. You can have an injury, you could end up having to move to take care of somebody or yourself, or that business could shut down, the government could shut down, like a pandemic could happen, like a whole number of unknown things could happen out there, and I wanted to be in control of what I did on a daily basis, basically.
Yeah.
So I've made a sustainable living out of it. And I also knew, like, everybody told me you can't make a living, but I knew of these guides, these mostly men that owned guide services all over the country and made great living. They had, like, wives and kids. And I was like, so they can do it, but I can't do it? No. I think I can do it, you know?
Nice. I mean, definitely there are people out there that make a living out of this.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So you said that, well, it seems like starting the women class is kind of like a very critical point for you. Right? Mm-hmm. You feel like you need it, you contribute, and then other than that, or if you want to elaborate on that, it's just like what do you get the most fulfillment out of your job?
Yeah, I do love guiding. The women's events that I do, I don't know why I'm surprised every time, but I'm still surprised at the end of each weekend how empowered I feel afterwards.
Like you feel.
Yeah, me personally. Or I look at my guide team and I can see them glowing with this, like, feeling of empowerment of, like, we could do anything. Should we just take over the world right now? Because I'm pretty sure we could. And that happens at the end of every women's climbing weekend that I host. Beautiful. I can't believe it, and I don't do anything to create that other than just providing a space for where people can, like-minded women can come together and boost each other up. And I can't quite put words to what that is. That camaraderie, that connection, it's just so giving. So I do love that in my guiding. I love working with other women, and then just guiding in general. Like we were saying before, it took me forever to learn how to rock climb, but I've seen myself teach people and they pick it up in 2 days. Like, someone comes out for a learn to lead course with me, 2 days later they will be leading trad. And so I've seen it work. I've seen it change people's lives. My best friend and the best guide that I have, she was a client of mine who never trad climbed before, had barely climbed ever, and now she's a climbing guide, and a really good one. She'll probably get her pin and outrank me here soon.
There's no rank.
Yeah. Or there's someone else who, like, I've just seen people's lives change, and you and I know how life-changing rock climbing can be. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to provide that for other people, I'm like, yeah, you can have a different way of life. You can be outside definitely more than you are inside if you want. Mm-hmm. You can push yourself to do hard, scary things. So I love that. That's really fulfilling. Like, one of my clients just moved out to Joshua Tree. You know, just like, I'm leaving Santa Cruz, I'm moving to Joshua Tree. You're like, all right, cool. Okay, you are taking to this lifestyle. Like, you're going for it.
Nice.
And then I also
I still remember what you said. I'm living in my van. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably what's most fulfilling to me. Just showing people that there is a different way to live life too.
Nice.
And I think being in the guiding world and climbing world so much, I actually forgot how important it is because I'm around it all the time. So I forgot how different it was from like what's going on out there in the world.
Yeah. True.
Until like my mother passed away 6 months ago, and it's been about a year, but I was taking care of her for 6 months before that, and so I was in the DC area, and I just got to see. I was like, oh, this is what most people's lives are like. Like most of people in this country are sitting in traffic and going to a job that they don't really love, and seeing their coworkers more than their family, and flicking each other off in traffic. Like, it's wild what is happening out there in the world, and I got desensitized to how beautiful this way of life really is, because it just
you're
came
living
normal.
it every day.
Yeah.
Whew.
And I think it gives, like, my big wall climbing, my guiding helped me so much while I was taking care of my mom. I think if you can go climb big walls and you can operate under pressure and in stress,
you just are more resilient.
You're more resilient, yeah. And you're calm when in an emergency situation.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a stressful environment all the time. So when life becomes stressful, those little nuggets like stayed with me and are like, I'm like, I can do this.
Definitely. Just like, okay, now I will make the decision.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nice. Well, it's kind of nice, like, even just talking with you, I'm not like we are not like guiding a women group, but I think, it's kind of nice to talk to like fellow female guys too. Sometimes I just work day after day, I just like, gee, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And then you forgot like the good times.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to gather. I mean, yeah. You're just constantly trying to find a balance. I think the saying is true that, like, the grass is always greener. So, like, sure, it'd be nice to have a job that gave me health insurance.
Or the 401k.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really nice.
Right.
But it's also really nice to walk outside and to know what the weather's going to be just because I know what the clouds are doing. Or, like, I'm just to be able to hear a bird call and to be like, that animal is in distress or is trying to find a mate. Or so to have an opportunity to be so connected with the real world, with nature, it's just such a blessing.
Nice.
And I have that to fall back on my days where I'm like, what am I doing out here? Which happens a lot.
Yes, we are not gonna lie, right?
Yeah.
It still can be stressful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it is tiring.
Mm-hmm.
And hard on your body, and you don't make a lot of money and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't trade it. And at this point, I don't know if I just like don't have other skills to offer the world, or if I'm just stuck in the world of rock guiding. If this is really what I love to do, but so far so good.
I mean, you definitely, you strike out for, doing your business. That's different set of skills.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
So other than teaching climbing, you definitely have different set of skills.
That's true. I can build a mean website off of Wix.
Awesome. Yeah. So I ask these questions for all my guests. It's like, if you can pick, I know it's hard because you probably have a lot of moments, but like the proudest moment that just right now at this moment coming in your mind to share. In
guiding or in climbing?
Just in general.
In anything.
In anything.
Whoa,
it could be.
Got even bigger. Wow. It's so funny the way my brain works. It goes into categories. It's like, well, in this world, it's this that I'm most proud of. But I can only say one answer.
You can share. So let's hear one, and maybe you can share two.
We'll start there. Well, the one that came to mind first, since that is what you asked in this moment, it's not necessarily uplifting, but I am proud of. I had a really hard year this past year with my mother being sick and dying, and I would say the way that I showed up for her and for my family, and the way that my family came together, so it's family pride too, but that is my proudest moment right now. If I had to think of one without thinking about anything, that's what it is, because it was really hard, and it was really scary, and it was terrible, and it was also beautiful and giving, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to be there like that for my mom. And I couldn't do that without my second most proudest thing, which is this business. Like, I had the ability to say, no, I'm putting this on hold, and I'm going to go see my family. I couldn't do that if I worked for somebody else.
I see.
I couldn't do it and know that I'd come back to a job. But me, I didn't guide as much, but I knew that my business would survive it, because I am my business, and I knew I'd have to keep going.
And then you will survive. Yes.
So I am proud of this business and of building a female guide team nationwide. You know, these women that can travel all over the country to guide. That is not easy.
It is not, yes.
You know, you're always the only female guide. I'm always the only female guide. They're always the only female guide. So having an all-female guide team...
Definitely.
Super proud of that.
Awesome. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And another question is, say people listen to this episode, if they can only take one thing away, what you wish them take away?
For guides listening to this,
now you're putting in category, but you can do
it
that.
It is categories,
yeah.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way my brain works.
For sure.
For guides, I would say the most important thing, if you want to be a good guide, you have to invest in yourself, in your personal climbing.
Okay.
That could be yourself, your own mindset work, and your personal climbing, but you need to invest in yourself. So I see a lot of new guides, they make their whole trajectory about the PCGI or the AMGA route. They're like, I'm going to do these specific climbs.
I see.
So that I can get into this course.
Right.
And it's all for the AMGA or for the PCGI. It's not for themselves.
Right.
And that's important. You need to go get certified. You need to get experience before you get certified. But you really need to stay connected to why you're doing it and what you're doing, and so stay connected to yourself.
I like this one.
I just think it's so important, and that's why so many guides burn out. I think they do it for a little while, and then they're like, this isn't what I thought. I don't like this. And it's like, yeah, because you haven't gone rock climbing since you started guiding.
Well, wait a second. I need to go rock climbing.
Right, exactly. It's so important, and that's one of the perks of the job, is that most of our work is seasonal. So take a month or whatever, a week, any amount of time that you can in your off season, and just go climbing for yourself.
Yeah, I did do that after the Red Rock season ends in spring. I went to Greece.
Yes. Kalymnos?
Yes, I did.
Nice. That place is paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you probably came back rejuvenated. You probably loved rock climbing.
I mean, I always love rock climbing. I actually never had a moment I hate rock climbing. I just hate walking.
Right, I know.
Yeah, uh-huh.
The other reason I say it's important is because I see guides out there and they're just sort of stiff. Or just like robotic, sort of like, I'm going to teach this skill in this way. And I always tell my guides, I'm like, you're just teaching them how to rock climb, which you know how to do. So just do that. Like,
right.
Don't do anything dangerous. Don't be unsafe. But
yes.
like, they don't need to tie the clove hitch the same way that you tie it. They just need to tie the clove hitch.
Yes. I just tell my students, as long as nobody's killed, you done your job well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the takeaway for guides, and I guess the takeaway for anybody listening is I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I think rock climbing is this amazing thing. I think it connects people.
Yeah, I can't agree more.
Yeah, it provides community. So go climbing and have fun, and just try to immerse yourself in the history of rock climbing and see where it came from so that we can keep the spirit of climbing alive.
Awesome. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Kelly.
totally.
Yeah, really enjoying this conversation.
Thank you, I know.
Yeah.
Just keep talking.
We can. And then we definitely, like, once I have more episodes, I think I probably will start to do some follow-up.
Cool.
Like, quick follow-up. Because I talk with all these people. It's like, we all seem kind of like some unfinished thread.
I know.
Right?
Exactly. You asked me so many questions tonight that I was like, each of them could have been an episode.
Right.
You
So,
know?
right, you know, what, like, this Joshua Tree permit thing, and then all those, like, anyway, we definitely, you know, once we accumulate enough, then I'm, like, gonna pin back.
You're doing the work. You're going to bring us all together, create this awesome network of female guides.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.